The poor ice seller who became a billionaire oil tycoon. Opening scene. The struggle of Rafiq. In the sweltering heat of Karachi, Pakistan, a young man named Rafiq Ahmed pushed his rusty old cart through the crowded streets. He was an ice seller, barely making enough to feed his family. Every morning before sunrise, he would visit the ice factory, buy large blocks of ice, and carve them into smaller pieces to sell at local markets. His hands were always frozen and blistered, but his heart burned with ambition. One day, a little boy tugged at his sleeve and said, "Bye, why do you work so hard? Ice melts so quickly." Rafiq sighed and replied, "Because, little one, life is like ice, it melts if you don't act fast." Despite his struggles, he dreamed of becoming rich. But how could a man who sold melting ice ever hope for such success? A life-changing incident. One hot afternoon, as Rafiq waited outside a tea shop, he overheard a group of wealthy businessmen discussing something unusual: the desert lands near Baluchistan. "They say there's oil underground, but the cost of drilling is too high. We don't know if it's worth it," one man said. Rafiq's mind raced. Oil beneath the ground. He had never thought about it before, but something inside him sparked. That night, he couldn't sleep. He visited an old library and read about oil exploration. He discovered that the land in Baluchistan was indeed rich in resources. While major companies were hesitant, smaller-scale exploration was possible. The gamble of a lifetime. Rafiq had no money, but he had courage. He took a crazy risk. He sold his ice cart, borrowed a small loan, and traveled to Baluchistan. He found an abandoned oil drilling rig owned by a struggling local businessman. With his little money, he leased a tiny plot of land and hired an old geologist who confirmed there might be crude oil beneath. Days turned into weeks of drilling. His hands, once frozen by ice, were now blistered from the sun. Then boom. One morning, as his team was about to give up, a gush of black gold erupted from the earth. Rafiq had struck oil. The instant rise to wealth news spread like wildfire. Investors swarmed in. Government officials took notice. Instead of selling the land, Rafiq made another bold move. He partnered with international firms and launched Ahmed Oil and Gas Ltd. Within a year, he was supplying thousands of barrels of oil daily. His company expanded across the Middle East and Africa. The once poor ice seller now owned private jets, luxury cars, and global investments. One day, a reporter asked him, "How did you go from selling ice to becoming an oil tycoon?" Rafiq smiled and said, "Because I knew that both ice and oil melt. But only one can set the world on fire." Moral of the story: no matter how small you start, if you take bold risks, seize opportunities, and never give up, you can achieve greatness.